December 7th, 1941. You are there. The B-17s arrive and, like America itself, find themselves in war. The attack from the Japanese aircraft carriers Akagi, Akaga, Hiryu, Soryu, and two new carriers, the Shoku and Suikoku, lasts an hour and 45 minutes. When the first bombs began to fall, Army Air Corps pilots Kenneth Taylor and George Welch were just returning from a night on the town. These two brave pilots raced to their planes, which were fueled and armed with .30 caliber ammunition for aerial combat practice, and quickly found themselves right in the middle of the real thing. The two second lieutenants caught up with the Japanese at Iwa, a Marine base and auxiliary field close to Pearl Harbor and Hickam Field. After shooting down two Japanese Val dive bombers, Taylor and Welch ran out of ammunition, landed at Wheeler Field near the center of the island. There, Taylor and Welch reloaded with .30 and 50 caliber ammo and took off to fight again. These two brave pilots are credited with downing a total of 6 Japanese warplanes before their own planes were disabled. Both pilots received a Distinguished Service Cross for their actions that infamous day. Yes, this is December 7th, 1941. The surprise Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. We've taken you back to that faithful day. At Pearl Harbor and Hickam Field, the devastation was awesome. On the eastern edge of Ford Island, in the center of the harbor, 7 battleships lay at berth. The California, Oklahoma, West Virginia, Tennessee, Arizona, and the Nevada. The Japanese hit first with Cape torpedo bombers, like the one you see coming in from the right now, with the torpedo hanging underneath it. The initial wave of Capes hit the Oklahoma, California, Nevada, West Virginia, and the Utah. Let me tell you, folks and kids, these Capes were equipped with special shallow-running torpedoes designed specifically for the attack on Pearl Harbor. You see, the shallow waters at Pearl Harbor would not allow the use of normal deep-running torpedoes. This removed any claim that the Japanese could have that the Pearl Harbor attack was an attack of opportunity. It was very well planned, and we've taken you back to that fateful morning of December 7th, 1941. You can imagine what it must have been like with 183 Japanese Zeros, like you see the one diving down right now from the left. Kate torpedo bombers coming in from the left over there. Val dive bombers behind the Kates. Yes, you are there. This is Tora, the surprise Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. After the Kate torpedo bombers came the Val dive bomber, like you see coming in from your left right there. Armed with 1,700-pound armor-busting projectiles, made for 16-inch battleship guns, but converted to aerial bombs, these planes dived down on the Nevada and Arizona. Anti-aircraft fire veered the valves away from the Nevada on the first wave, but the Arizona wasn't that lucky. A bomb from a Kate bomber stabbed the Arizona through her forward magazines and exploded, touching off more than 1 million pounds of gunpowder. A sailor on the Nevada watched the Arizona jump at least 15 to 20 feet up in the water and break into 2 pieces, forever entrapping 1,200 American servicemen in an underwater tomb that remains in Pearl Harbor to this very day. The ship sank in less than 3 minutes. Yes, this is Tora, the surprise Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. The Japanese Zero getting nice close to the ground, doing strafing runs. We've taken you back to that fateful day. Listen to the bombs going off, the sound of the gunfire, the air raid sirens. You can just imagine what it must have been like. At Marine Corps Air Station Iwa, PFC Melvin Thompson was on guard duty when 9 Zeros attacked the base. Thompson stepped out of his guard shack, drew his .45 caliber handgun, and began firing on the plane. A Japanese pilot, Yoshio Shiga, saw Thompson firing back, and years later, Shiga remembered Thompson's tenacity and fighting spirit, describing the lone Marine as the bravest American I have ever seen. That was in the midst of the surprise Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor that we're recreating for you right here in front of you right now. You can imagine 183 fighters and bombers from Japan's first air fleet. All over the island, soldiers .40 caliber and .50 caliber belt-fed machine guns into action, bringing down numerous marauding Japanese Zeros, Vals, and K's. Meanwhile, at Bellows Field on the northeast coast of the island, more U.S. Army Air Corps pilots were racing to their P-40 Warhawks. Just then, Japanese Zeros appeared and started strafing runs. One P-40 pilot was killed just as he stepped into his cockpit. Two other P-40s were down just as they got off the ground. You cannot imagine what the devastation was that fateful morning of December 7th. Look to your left as the King torpedo bombers come making their run to drop those special shallow running torpedoes. Behind them, the Val dive bomber, those special 1,600-pound armor-piercing bomb. The Zeros doing their strafing runs high overhead. The sound of bombs going off. You can only imagine what it must have been like that fateful day of December 7th, 1941. 7:55 in the morning. The Imperial Japanese Navy caught us completely by surprise with a very, very well-planned attack. This is Tora, Tora, Tora. We've taken you back to that fateful morning. That flight of 16 B-17s coming in from the mainland arrived and are immediately attacked by the marauding Japanese Zeros. In the confusion, the B-17s were shot at by friend and foe, and the frightened crews landed the B-17s wherever they could. One of them actually landed in a pineapple field not far from Hickam Field, which is adjacent to Pearl Harbor. Yes, ladies and gentlemen and kids, this is Tora, Tora, Tora. We've taken you back to that fateful day of December 7th, 1941. The infamous surprise Japanese attack on our Pearl Harbor Naval Base and Hickam Field and the bases all over the island. As a matter of fact, you are there. We've taken you in our giant chamber of imagination back to that fateful morning when the Japanese caught us completely by surprise. The signal was Tora, 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 literally translated tiger, tiger, tiger. They knew they had us completely by surprise before the first bomb went off. And we've taken you back to that fateful morning, December 7th, 1941. One B-17 pilot, a Major Landon, trying to land his airplane, said, "What a hell of a way to enter a war." And we've taken you back to that fateful day. Look at the Cape torpedo bombers coming in from your right. The Val dive bombers right behind them. The Zeros. Yes, this is Tora, Tora, Tora. Major Landon says, "What a hell of a way to enter a war. Out of gas, unarmed, and no place to land." 8 B-17s actually made it to Hickam Field. At the conclusion of the surprise Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, more than half of America's entire naval base had been destroyed or damaged. Nearly 2,400 Americans were killed, over 1,200 wounded, and at the time, 960 were missing. 151 aircraft were destroyed as they sat on the ground. Virtually every U.S. military aircraft in Hawaii. 2 battleships, 3 destroyers, and 2 light cruisers were destroyed.